Welcome to the Future of Real Estate, your chance to find out what's going on in real estate and the real estate market. This morning show is brought to you by the Ellis team at RE/MAX Realty Group. RE/MAX is award winner for most transactions in Florida.
With the Ellis team at RE/MAX, it's a family affair. Always call the Ellis team, they'll handle you with care.
Welcome to the Future of Real Estate. I'm Brett Ellis of the Ellis team at RE/MAX Realty Group. Don't forget our website. You can always find us at www.topagent.com. From there, you can find access to past shows. We do these on a pretty much weekly basis. So we've got a whole video series and a series of topics we talk about. And if you want to call us, our phone number is 1-800-860-4042. To our local customers, it's 239-489-4042. Welcome to the show, my father, Mike Ellis, also at RE/MAX here. I want to talk today about two things that are really in the news. And the first thing is the flood insurance program. That program has lapsed, I think, for about the third time in recent months. And it lapsed because there was a broader bill. Now let's take people back and explain why flood insurance is necessary. The federal government insures flood insurance. So your local companies like State Farm, Allstate, Nationwide, they'll write a flood insurance policy, but it's really backed up by the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP. So Congress has let that lapse, which means there is no flood insurance program. So there are no new policies being written as of Sunday night, March 28th. So Congress is out of session until April 12th. If you live in a flood zone, and pretty much all of Florida is a flood zone, but if you live in like flood zone A, which just for the most part, everything west of US 41 is kind of in a flood zone. There's still some stuff east of 41 or up towards the river. You're in that flood zone A. You can't close on a home. You can't refinance a home. There's a lot of things you can't do until that program is reinstated. It wreaks havoc, not just here, but with the real estate markets nationwide, and it causes things to back up.
Well, a couple things. This shouldn't even be in the news. This should have been corrected before this happened. Now, not every home loan that's happening in these days with no insurance will be affected. It's only the ones where the lender's requiring flood insurance, but that's a major part of them in this market area. So this could be a big issue for a few days.
Well, you know, the amazing thing is that our economy is so tied to real estate. To have any shutdown whatsoever, I mean, they've spent billions of dollars coming up with home buyer tax credits to close, go to contract in April and close by June and all these things, and yet they let a flood insurance program lapse. It's kind of, I don't know why they had to include that as part of a bigger, overall, broader bill. Why can't, if Congress had half a head, which they don't, but I don't understand when you've got major legislation, why they have to combine it and try to ram it through with 6 other things, because they know the 4 of the 6 other things aren't popular. So they try to bundle them because flood insurance is you got to get it done, so we're going to ram through some stuff that nobody wants. Why can't they just say flood insurance is important enough that we're going to make it on its own because it's got a deadline, it's going to expire, instead of trying to ram other stuff through, and stuff we can't pay for?
Well, I think everything that Congress does that affects housing and the crisis that we have should be separate and not included in some other bill, so it can go forward. I think here's just another example of the absence of common sense by Congress is causing housing problems. It's like the appraisal issue that they inserted certain controls that hasn't worked properly either.
Anytime government gets involved, it usually doesn't get better. It usually gets worse. Look at healthcare. I mean, now we've got companies like AT&T, Verizon, major companies, and I saw a big long list of them having to write $1 billion of charge-off for all these new expenses and taxes. That means they are firing people. They're not hiring people.
Well, that's the core issue of all of our economic crisis is the absence of policies and procedures that will invite and contribute to job growth. I don't see anything happening that will increase the jobs that's being repaired. That's part of the government issue doing things. We have to solve the job problem to crack most of everything that's going on.
Now, REMAX has a special deal for us coming up in the next week or so that's going to explain the new government program in high detail. So we're going to sit and watch that and kind of learn about that whole program. But in the meantime, I saw another government program was released, and it talks about how they're going to offer mortgage aid. But, I was looking through this plan, and I don't see a lot of mortgage aid here. Now, here's a few facts, and these aren't new facts, but about 6 million homeowners have missed at least 2 months of payments, and they estimate that 10 to 12 million borrowers are in danger of foreclosure over the next 3 years. So what they've come up with a plan, and Bank of America is the first to offer what they call mortgage reductions. And remember, for the last year or so, we've been saying all these loan modifications are actually making the problem worse. We actually need mortgage reductions. You'll reduce the mortgage on a short sale. Why wouldn't you think about doing it to keep someone in their home? That's the only way it's going to work, and that's why these loan modifications have failed. Congress doesn't get that either. Now, I know why they didn't want to do it, because if you start doing mortgage reductions, then everyone's going to want one. You're going to want one, I'm going to want one, everyone will. It just opens up the tide. So I get that. But I'm looking at these programs here, and what I'm not seeing is, for instance, if you got one of these programs, you have to lose your job, and you have to receive unemployment benefits, but you must not be behind on your payments. And your mortgage payment can't be more than 31% of your loan, of your income. So they'll modify it down. But I know that they can only extend up to, and you have to be up to more than 15% upside down on your mortgage. Well, if they're going to only reduce, say, 15 to 30% in your mortgage, but you got to stay within 31% and you have no job, 31% of your income, if you have no job, what's 31% of zero?
You can't qualify for anything.
You can't even qualify for this mortgage aid.
If you really read this thoroughly and carefully, which needs to be done, the amount of help, I think, is going to be limited to just a few people.
And they wonder why these programs don't work. When you kind of read them, you can kind of see very quickly they're not designed for success. They're designed for failure. I don't know what brilliant mind thought this stuff up, but it's just another example of the government trying to help people. And this is, remember when we went to the 5-Star Institute and they said the U.S. Treasury Department and the banks have learned that this mortgage aid doesn't help. It's the year of the transaction. It's either going to result in a short sale or foreclosure because this isn't helping. Well, of course it's not helping because they haven't designed the programs right. Maybe if you design the programs better, you'd have a chance. I think people want help. But if you're not going to offer serious help, then why go through all the motions? You're just postponing the inevitable, and you're kicking the can down the road, and we're going to deal with a bigger can later on. Can of worms.
That's what's happening so far. And I don't think this new thing's going to help a whole lot.
Well, I'm going to be very interested to see the new short sale process because there's some legislation out there that the banks must give answers within 10 days of this and do this. And I know that the big banks have worked to put procedures in place to make this happen with the new laws that are going into effect. I think this stuff goes into effect like it's either April 5th or April 12th. So we are going to sit in on a private, highly educational thing to find out exactly how this works and what we can do to assist troubled people who want to sell their homes via short sale and get them out and at least protect their credit better than a foreclosure.
You know, I'm excited to sit in on that too and learn that because the big question mark I have about that is banks are given so many days to respond, but there's the investor that owns these. They may be packaged into hard telling what. How will they be forced to respond within so many days?
Well, going back to this mortgage aid plan, there's no requirement for the banks to cooperate whatsoever. There are some incentives if they do. For instance, for every dollar they reduce the mortgage reduction, they'll get 10 to 21 cents back. Well, some banks aren't going to be able to take advantage of that because, hey, I reduce it 10,000, I'm going to get, 1,000 or 2,100 back. So we're going to have to keep our eye on this. It's going to be interesting to see. We thought we would bring you the latest in terms of flood insurance. This will affect you if you're trying to close. Hopefully Congress will renew this when they come back to when they meet again April 12th, but there's no guarantee they will. And then also the mortgage aid. We'd like to keep you up to date on that. Next week we'll probably bring you more information as we get it on this new plan the government has come out with. You've been watching The Future of Real Estate presented by the Ellis team at RE/MAX. I'm Brad Ellis. You can always reach us at 239-489-4042. Don't forget our website, which is topagent.com.